It was still dark when the patrol lights flashed behind her, that soft blue glow cutting through the cold air, and for a split second she thought, this is it. This is where everything finally collapses. She had been walking for hours, feet numb, legs shaking, hoodie soaked through, and now a police car was slowing down beside her on an empty stretch of highway where nobody was supposed to be walking at 5 in the morning. You know that feeling when your body is exhausted, but your mind is still fighting, still refusing to quit. Yeah, that was her entire existence in that moment. The officer rolled down his window and asked where she was headed, and she had to bend forward just to catch her breath before answering because her lungs felt like they were on fire. Northbrook, she said, barely louder than the road beneath her shoes. I have to be at work at 7. The officer looked at her like she'd just said something impossible. He asked if she was walking there, and she nodded because at that point lying felt pointless. Since 1 in the morning. She could see it in his face, that pause people make when their assumptions don't line up with reality. He wasn't looking at a criminal or someone causing trouble. He was looking at a young woman who looked like she had dragged herself through hell and was still moving forward anyway. And that pause, that silence mattered more than she realized at the time. Her name is Lena Carter. She's 22, and nothing about her life leading up to that moment had been easy. Not the dramatic movie kind of hard, just the quiet, grinding kind that wears you down slowly. She grew up believing that if you worked hard and kept your head down, things would eventually straighten out. That belief took a beating the year the flood hit. A freak storm rolled through her hometown and ripped it apart, houses torn open, streets underwater, everything familiar suddenly gone. Insurance helped technically, but not enough to actually fix anything. It was just enough to keep them from drowning financially, not enough to swim. So she and her mom packed whatever they could salvage and moved south to Pine Ridge, crashing with a relative who tried to be kind but never let them forget they were guests. Bills stacked up fast. Lena watched her mother pretend she wasn't scared, pretend she wasn't tired, and that hurt more than the flood ever did. So Lena did what people always tell you to do. She applied everywhere. Gas stations, warehouses, grocery stores, places that never called back. Places that smiled politely and offered hours that wouldn't even cover groceries. Then one afternoon the phone rang. Northbrook Freight Services, full-time position. Benefits after 90 days. Start tomorrow at 7 a.m. sharp. Lena sat there holding the phone after the call ended, heart pounding, because this wasn't just a job, it was oxygen. It was rent. It was groceries. It was her mom sleeping a little easier at night. She drove to the interview in an old sedan that rattled like it was held together by hope and duct tape. She sat across from the hiring manager. Denise Holloway answered questions with confidence she had to borrow from somewhere deep inside, shook hands at the end. And when Denise said, "You're hired," Lena felt something unclench in her chest for the first time in months. She walked out smiling, got into her car, turned the key, and the engine died. No warning, no mercy. Smoke curled out from under the hood like punctuation on a bad sentence. The mechanic didn't sugarcoat it. The engine was done. Replacement cost more than she had ever seen in her bank account. She walked out, sat on the curb, pulled out her phone, and stared at the address of her new job glowing on the screen. She hit walking directions. 18.7 miles. 6 hours and change. She laughed at first because sometimes that's all you can do. Then she stopped laughing because the math didn't care. If she missed her first day, that job was gone. No explanations, no second chances. So she made a decision that sounds insane until you understand what losing that job would have meant. She walked home, told her mom the car was acting up, said she'd handle it, laid out her sneakers, filled a water bottle, stuffed a couple of protein bars into her pocket, and set her alarm for 1 in the morning. When it went off, she didn't hesitate. She slipped out into the dark and started walking. The first few miles weren't terrible. Quiet streets, cool air, that strange calm that comes when the world is asleep. But by mile 4, her calves burned. By mile 6, her feet felt bruised. Trucks roared past, headlights washing over her and disappearing, and every time she slowed down, she pictured Denise's face, that handshake, that trust. She couldn't break it. She wouldn't. By the time the sky started to lighten, Lena was running on stubbornness alone. Sweat soaked her clothes despite the cold. Her legs trembled. She stopped once to drink water and immediately regretted it because standing still hurt worse than moving. So she kept going. One step, then another, telling herself she just had to reach the next sign, the next mile marker. Anything to keep from thinking about how far she still had to go. That's when the patrol car pulled up beside her. Officer Ryan Keller had been on shift all night, bored, tired, ready to go home, and seeing a woman staggering along the highway at that hour set off every alarm in his head. When she told him her story, when she said she'd already walked over 11 miles, something in him shifted. He checked the time. Even if she kept walking, she wouldn't make it, and if he left her there, she'd try anyway. "Get in the car," he said. She hesitated, confused, maybe scared. He repeated it softer. "I'm taking you to work." She climbed into the back seat and leaned her head against the window, eyes closing for the first time in hours. They pulled into the parking lot at 6:36 a.m. early. When she tried to stand, her legs nearly gave out. Ryan steadied her, walked her to the door, and asked to speak with Denise. Denise listened as he told the story. The broken car, the walk, the dark highway. She didn't interrupt. When he finished, she looked at Lena like she was seeing her for the first time. "Sit down," she said, gently handing her water. "You're not doing anything for a bit." After Ryan left, Denise pulled out her phone and wrote a post she didn't think much about. She wrote about the interview, the promise, the walk, the police escort. She hit post and went back to work. By lunchtime, it had blown up. Shares, comments, messages. By evening, local news was calling. Someone started a fundraiser to help fix Lena's car. Donations started coming in. $5, $10.50, $100. Lena had no idea. She worked her full shift, learned the systems did the job, refused special treatment because that's who she was. At the end of the day, Denise showed her the screen. The numbers didn't make sense. $40,000 by the next morning. Lena just stared, hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face because strangers had decided she was worth believing in. 3 days later, a silver SUV rolled into the lot. The company owner stepped out, keys in hand. He had driven down himself. He called Lena into the office, placed the keys in her palm, and said, "You earned this." No speech, no strings, just recognition. Lena still works there. She got promoted. Her mom has stability. Officer Keller says stopping that morning reminded him why he became a cop in the first place. And people still argue about it online. Should someone have to walk through the night to prove they deserve a job? Was this kindness or a system that failed until a miracle showed up? So here's the question. If you were in her place, would you have turned back, or would you have kept walking even when everything in your body told you to quit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think this was justice, luck, or something else entirely. And if this story hit you, hit like, subscribe, and stay with us. Because stories like this don't just happen to other people. Sometimes they're a lot closer than we think.